What is going on, Panther Lair? We are back talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers' home loss to the NC State Wolfpack at home this past Saturday afternoon, 81-72. Now, I just did two defensive breakdowns with some voice overlays. Want to talk a little bit about offense here, and specifically want to talk about how Brandin Cummings fits within Pitt's offense. Now, if you've been watching the Panthers for the entirety of the season, then you know that he is pretty much their lone path in terms of one-on-one shot creation. Not a lot of guys on the roster that can do it. Obviously, Cummings is pretty much their most consistent path to doing it. And so how does that fit? Well, we've seen him go over 20 points a couple of times this season, albeit in losses. We've also seen him recently not shoot the ball very well either. Now, is that always on him, or is that part of kind of what the team defaults into? Well, let's dive in and kind of break it down. First, we're going to start with some of the attempts that he does take. Now, again, he is somebody who could break his guy down off the dribble and get his shot off, but these are not easy attempts here. I mean, you look at this, he's going to step through like 18-foot running floater, and it goes in. We're going to see here in the second half, game tied, nothing going on. Again, 15 seconds, and this is pretty much the best thing they can get after using half of the shot clock, is a running, same foot, same hand floater that Roman Cialepa ends up getting an offensive rebound and a putback on. Now, let's talk about how the offense doesn't exactly do him a lot of favors here for a second, right? We know that this retread offense at times generates no really good looks, especially early in possessions. And so what happens is the offense just evolves to a high ball screen, a side ball screen, a little bit of two-man game, right? We've seen that over and over and over again. And in this particular possession, you're just going to see what he has to do with very little time left. So ball swings around here. Minor eventually drives this, finds its way to Cummings with 3.1 seconds on the clock as this pass is being made, and he does not make the shot. So, right, this is just part of their offense. Here we go again in the first half. Another instance where Cummings is going to get this ball with very little time on the clock, 3.8 seconds. He's putting the ball down, and now he takes a difficult step back shot and air ball, right? So these are situations where the team is just not leaving Cummings in a good position because they're giving him the ball with so little time on the shot clock. Now, there's other instances where obviously Cummings is part of the problem. And, you see at the end of this game, as they're trying to come back within like the last 6 minutes or so, it's pretty much him and DeMarco Minor trying to go one-on-one to generate something. And this is how a lot of those possessions ended up, right? Turnaround in the lane, not a great shot, kisses front of the rim. Now, here's the upside, though, right? And this is why it's still an important part of their offense, because there are times where he's just going to be a really supreme shot maker relative to his teammates, right? So here it is, Pitt, 3-possession game. Now we have an instance where Cummings is like, hey, can you go ahead and do something off the bounce? Well, yeah, he hits a 3. I think on the other end, though, is if you look at my defensive video, like right after this sequence, he pretty much concedes a layup to a driving Copeland. But then he hits this next 3 here. Still 3-possession game. And he's going to hit this shot. Another self-creation, just a little step back, brings Pitt within 5. Then he takes an offensive charge on the other end, and Pitt gets the ball back, right? So not all these sequences are in here, especially the defensive ones. But the point is, there's like an upside to what he can do as well, right? Because Pitt just does not have a lot of other guys who are capable of making these shots. Now, granted, Minor made a bunch of threes earlier in the second half here because he hadn't made any baskets in the first half to kind of put Pitt in a position to pace a little bit in front of NC State for a while. Obviously, that wasn't sustainable. So here we go. Last one of his attempts of the game in terms of a 3. And again, a super difficult shot is what we have made here. Again, your turn, my turn offense. This isn't good in general. And obviously a step back here a little bit further out and hits the back of the rim. So Pitt's going to have to try to find a way to integrate this a little bit more. And part of the problem is, obviously, this is an equation that the Panthers have not figured out yet. Cummings has to be a little bit more disciplined for the shots that he's taking. At the same time, Pitt has to put him in a position where he's not just trying to generate something at the end of the shot clock. And now it's a little bit of a two-way street, right? Because these last couple possessions, him and Minor are just going back and forth. But that's just kind of systemic to the fact that they just really don't have a great offensive system. So this is probably something that the team is going to have to continue to navigate throughout the rest of the season. Just thought that it was, kind of extrapolated or a little bit more pronounced in this game, so to speak. So figured we break down a little bit of offense for you guys as well.